All right, so today we have Liz with us from all around, from all the way from the other side of the world, from Australia, and we're gonna just right dive into it. So I met Liz a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months ago, through just a LinkedIn connection. We jumped on a conversation. We had a great conversation, and I really love what she's doing and how she's delivering it and her vision for the future. And she's got a really interesting story to tell as well. So let's dive right into it. Liz, who is Liz? Who are you?
Hello, Daniel. How are you going? Who am I? I'm a very ordinary lady that would like to make a difference to the world. And I do that as an empowerment mentor, an assertiveness coach, and I'm also a spiritual healer and physician. And that is I want to say the magical part of what I do and how I can make changes to others. So it's wonderful. I love what I do.
Tell me a bit more about that. When you work with people, who do you usually work with, and what does that work involve? What are some of the things that you've done with that work?
Okay. Well, with the work I do, I can work with anybody. You know, I work with small children, I work with mums, I work with business owners. And it's funny how through the years, how the clientele has changed. And I tend to get more business owners, high executives, you know, people that have a lot of stress. And they're running companies with hundreds of people and the stress level's so high. And so when I work individually, I also work within teams, and it's working on an energetic level, okay? When we're stressed, there's lots of factors involved, whether it's work, whether it's home, whether it's partners, whether it's, children. So coming from a healing background, and that's where my skills are, I can dive down to see where the issues are, and I can help uncover them issues and remove the emotional blockages that's causing the stress. And once you start taking that away, life becomes a lot easier. And to give you just sort of a picture so you can imagine it in your mind, it's like people walking around and there's lots of these little balloons that are hanging off them, and there's all these cords attached to the balloons. And in the balloons are different issues and different situations, and some you can control, some you can't. So my role is to work out what balloons are no longer needed in that person's energy field, and I cut them off and let them release them, and that frees the person up to make better decisions.
I love that metaphor. It's really, it illustrates it beautifully. So let's dive a little bit more into your story. What is your story, Liz?
My story of how I became who I am today is, I suppose I got to a point in my life where I had quite a few emotional traumas happening, and I was pushed into a corner. And it was either take that little white tablet and suppress everything and everything will go away. I decided to take the harder road and try and work out why was it happening and how could I change it to make life a little bit easier for myself. At the time, I was a senior spiritual healer, so I was able to understand what was going on. I didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be a spiritual healer. You know, when you have the ability, the more healing I was doing on myself, I became clearer and clearer. Then I started seeing visions. I started hearing voices, and, it was, oh my God, I'm going crazy. But I was able to, had the support around me to ask why this was happening. And so once I got an understanding of why it was happening, how it was happening, and how to work with it, I realized very quickly that, it was a gift that a lot of people have. We just don't understand it, or we don't know about it. It lays dormant. And being able to work with it to help others, it was an experience in itself, really. So it's something that happened that I had to work out how I managed it to help others.
So where did you go from there once you figured that part out?
I did lots of courses. I did my Reiki therapy, a pranic healing. I did an angel intuitive course, which is angel card reading. I've done lots of workshops, spoke to lots of healers, got a lot of healing myself, and that's where you get a lot of the experiences. Meditated. So I really opened myself up to learning my craft on all different levels. And there's some wonderful, wonderful healers out there and very knowledgeable. And no two healers are the same. Everyone has their unique quality, what they see, how they interpret it. It's all very different. But ultimately, I say to people, I have a one-way connection to the heavens. It's like having a mobile phone and dialing the big man upstairs and say, this is the issue I have. Can you got some guidance so I can pass it on to my client? And sure enough, that's how the information comes through. It's very clear. I don't second guess any information that comes forward, because through my experience that, the guidance is always correct. And if I'm unsure, it's like anything. I ask lots of questions in my head saying, is this correct? Give me more information, and that information comes forward. So, it's once you work it out and you're happy with it, the biggest issue is accepting that you have this ability that some people would class as a little bit strange, a little bit odd. I call it magical. I step into my magical bubble and I stay there for as long as I can, and then I step out sometimes. But, it's a beautiful space to be in, because once you learn, it's a bit like when you meditate. Once you learn to get into that space where you're really living in the moment all the time, the stress tends to go away. And so it's important that people find that space within themselves, because we've all got the answers. It's just working out how do I get that level of confidence to believe what my heart is saying. And that's I've figured that one out, and my role is to help others understand that.
So let's talk a bit more about that. Like, what is your vision for what you want to create through that work in the world? Like, what is the world, or the piece of the world that you're creating through that work? Well,
it started off one-on-one, and as the clientele has shifted, I can really see now that at the top of, I wouldn't say the top of the food chain in the corporate world, is where that needs to shift. Okay, you have a lot of people now that are very open to wellness and holistic healing and mindfulness. And I believe if you start at the top, you can make the massive changes underneath. So if you're working with top CEOs, upper management, and you're able to work with them to get them to help them to understand the importance of having a clear mind, to have clarity, to make the right decisions that they feel is the right way, and then having the courage to make it when others disagree with it. Okay, that filters down the whole organisation and it affects everyone underneath. So what tends to happen is, if you've got a top management layer of management that is calm, very intuitive, comes from the heart centre, so they're very conscious of what decisions they make affects everyone down below, that'll filter through. And my vision, I suppose, is you work with a handful of people at the top, and that triggers down, and teaching them how to manage the way I manage, and it filters down to the other layers of the organisation. And one conversation with one person can affect 50 people in a positive way. And so I suppose it's multiplying what I do on a grander scale, because there's only, physically I can only see so many people a day and so many a week. If I can help someone and give them tools and techniques, and I suppose the difference, the difference that I do compared to other healers is I give lots of tools and techniques for people to go out and use those and teach those, because the ability I have, I can share, and the more that are out there, the more we can change the world to a better place.
I love that, because I love that because it's about leverage. I'm big on leverage, and it's a word that I use a lot, and that really is about that, because if you can affect, with that, if you can start at the top with that and basically affect those people that are affecting of a lot of others, that's real leverage. I love that. So essentially it's about raising the level of awareness and presence in people, especially in the business world from that perspective. But you know, you're working with lots of different people outside of business as well. So it's kind of like, so I'm just trying to come up with that umbrella of yours. Like, what is that umbrella that you're working towards? And I guess it's really about raising the awareness, not just the awareness, but raising the consciousness and presence in people. Is that sort of like the, on the atom level, is that kind of like what you're working towards?
Well, that would be it, because that's one of the things I have a challenge with, is trying to work out. Everyone says you need a niche market, and I go, well, I could be standing at a bus stop and start talking to someone. If I can help them, I'll help them. So it's sort of, and then I have people that come with physical pain, and I work with them, and then they walk away with no pain. You know, logically they go, how do you do that, Liz? And you say, well, you know, these are the qualifications I have. This is how I believe it works. But really, you just say thank you, give me a hug, and it's a good day, you know. So it really is building awareness about there's a different way to approach things. You know, when the sign of whenever there's anxious people or stress in the workplace, there's an issue there, but it may not actually be the work they're doing. You know, maybe it's something at home, maybe their children are having problems at school, maybe, you know, there's marriage problems, there's maybe they're unwell and they don't want to say anything. There's lots of issues. So having the ability to tune into that and work with that, not everyone could do it. But once you work with managers and say, look, you know, if you're going to talk to Mary, stand beside her, don't talk to her square on because she freaks out. You stand to the side, talk to her from the side, and she'll hear exactly what you're saying. And I can give that guidance because that's the guidance I'm getting through the heavens, saying Mary's approach is this. Tell Tom to talk to her like that, and you'll get the result you want. Okay, and I really believe, and there's lots of research out there that says that when people are sick, disease is dis-ease of emotion. Okay, so once you tap in, if you've got staff that are always off sick, work out what's wrong with them and then help them overcome that with it, support you get. And that's where I come in. I come in very much as a support, and people have said to me, Liz, we don't know what to call you. You know, everyone has to have a title, or we don't know how will fit you into the organisation. And, you know, I've got lots of high-level management clients, and they're going, look, we want to introduce you to the organisation, but we just don't know what you fit in, you know, without sounding odd. And it's like I'm that go-to person that sits into an office and anyone can come and talk to me. I could sit, have a chat. When they leave, they're always feeling calm, they're less stressed, they're clearer in the mind, and physically they feel better. And they actually look better, which is, you know, I always say to myself, I should take before and after shots because everyone looks better. And I pride myself in my regular clients don't get sick. So it's sort of how you sum that up.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely does. So let's talk about creations. You know, I just got this beautiful gift in the mail yesterday when I came back from a 3.5-week trip. And I opened my mailbox, physical mailbox, and I got this envelope that was sent halfway around the world from Australia from you, and I got your gift. So tell me a bit about that. What you're creating? It was a package of empowerment cards, and you know, we talked about this before, but tell me a bit more about this.
Okay, my Archangel Michael empowerment cards. Again, I tend to have this. My life is pretty much these things fall into my world. And it's, Liz, you have to do this, and go, okay. I found out just over 12 months ago that I had a heart condition. I had a 24 mil hole in my heart, and I only found out by chance. My two brothers and father have all passed away from heart conditions. and I'm the youngest of 10, and one of my sisters found out she had an issue, and she said, oh, Liz, just go and get your heart checked out for me. So I went and did that, and they did an ultrasound, and it was 3.5 times bigger than normal. So, of course, they had to try and work out why. And I'm very fit, very healthy, don't look like I have a problem. Never had, when I'm walking, it's not an issue. So through that journey is lots of things happened. I had a vision, and these are the cards just here. So I had that vision. I also was working as a fortune teller at local markets, and I was over a couple of weeks. I was filling in for a friend of mine, and when I went there, I'd hardly get any clients, and I'm sitting there, and I had the discussion with the men upstairs saying, look, you want me to work, bring forward the clients, because I'm missing out on watching my boys play sport. So, but the clients didn't come, and one day I sat there and I said, well, why not? And then all of a sudden these affirmations started coming forward. So I wrote them down, and I asked who they were from, and they were from Archangel Michael. And I said, well, why you give them to me? And his comment was, Liz, they're for you. Once you're healed, you'll share with the world. Straight away, I knew that they were for me to get me through what I had to get through, and they certainly did. And then in the process, the images came, the colours came, and then I went through the process, got the healing, the surgery went well. And then when I was sitting at home, I sat with it and I said, okay, I have to do something with this. And then I put the image and the words together, and I said, okay, we'll make empowerment cards. And then I rang an intuitive artist that I know, and I spoke to Lucy. And the beautiful thing when two intuitive people work together, the heavens give you both the same picture. So things work really quickly. And so we spoke about the colours and the design, and it all come together. Through people she knew, I was able to get the connection to get the cards produced, and it's everything just went like clockwork. It was quite amazing, and I've included a rose quartz crystal inside, which is like that, and that's just purely because it's all about the heart center. And there's also a little booklet in the box, and that explains the journey I went on and how the cards came to be. And so my role now is to get it out there for people to appreciate and use, because they're there for everyone. And I actually was talking to a friend the other day, and she said to me, Liz, they're very raw. And I said, oh, what do you mean raw? And she said, well, it's just they're very easy to use, and, they're not, you don't have to be in the spiritual game to use it. And I went, well, I've achieved my goal, because my instructions were to make a set of empowerment cards that were from children up to 80-year-old, 90-year-old people, male, female. They don't necessarily have to have a spiritual bone in their body for them to understand. And that's ultimately what they are. And they're beautiful, beautiful cards, and I'm very proud of them.
They really are, absolutely. They're just like, because also the side is, is gold, and it's just like when you have them in your hand, it feels like a barrel of, it feels like you have a piece of gold in your hands, and they're amazing, absolutely outstanding. Yeah, exactly. They're absolutely amazing, and I'm certainly going to use them, for myself, because they're so powerful in any kind of situation. So that's phenomenal. Tell me a bit more about the things that you're working on right now. Where are you going? Kind of like what is the road forward towards that bigger umbrella?
The road forward is, I suppose, more clients, getting out there and helping more people in bigger numbers, and having opportunities to do that. I always say to people, don't be scared. Don't be scared of the spiritual side. And I find that a lot more males are opening up to the spiritual side. And it's funny because, people say to me, oh, Liz, just stick to the mums and, the females, because they love this stuff. And I do, I go to festivals, and I've got the most beautiful friends in the healing world. And I certainly will stay in that area. But I suppose I like the challenge of the the corporate world, and there's a lot of people out there that really need assistance, and it's just trusting to go, okay, let's try it. It's something different. It's way outside the box. But, you know, within a 5-minute conversation with me, you know, I can usually tap into what's happening, and you sense it. You sense whether I can help or not. And I really teach people to trust in that intuition. You know, if you meet someone, you know, you'll know. If you trust how your body reacts, if you feel sick when you meet someone, there's something wrong. So what you do, it doesn't mean you have to disregard that person. Or even when you're talking about a business deal, or even about buying a car, if you get an uneasy feeling, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to run away. It just means you need to ask more questions and get more clarity. And if that sick feeling gets worse and worse, well, start thinking about whether it's the right thing to do. But if you meet someone or talk about a business deal and you get this excitement and this buzz and you go, wow, this is awesome, I can feel this. And the more you dive into it, the more excited you get, then you're on the right track. And I truly believe, and it's taken me a long time to learn this, is that things do come easily when they're the right things. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. I'm a big believer of, you meet people at right time. The timing's always right when you meet people. Whether you think it or not, there's always a purpose. And if you're working on a project and you go, okay, I want this to happen, I'm not sure how, you ask the heavens. Whether you believe in a God, it doesn't matter. Ask the universe to bring forward the right support to help you move where you need to go. And all of a sudden, you'll meet someone in a coffee shop. A friend will say, oh, why don't you talk to this guy I know? People will come into your world that will help you, but you have to accept that help, okay? I always say that when you ask for a miracle or ask a prayer, it's always answered, but the heavens only give you 50% because you have to do the other 50. It's like the old saying, you know, I want to win the lotto, but you have to actually go and buy that lotto ticket. So
yeah, absolutely. So here's a couple of things that I have in that realm. How do you distinct between this doesn't feel right and I don't feel like doing this?
So say that again.
How do you distinct between that doesn't feel right and I don't feel like doing this? Because sometimes, you know, you work on a project, you work on a business deal or something like that, or whatever it is. And sometimes you get that, you know, the gut feeling. Okay. So, you know, listening to your gut feeling is one thing, but it's a bit like saying, you know, just be yourself. It's like, what the hell do I do with that? So when it's like listening, when we talk about intuition, listening to our gut feeling, sometimes there's, you know, with some things that I'm up to, sometimes it's just, it doesn't feel right. And sometimes it's clear, okay, it doesn't feel right, so I'm not going to do it. But sometimes I'm not sure if it doesn't feel right or if it's just a day where I just don't feel like doing this.
Okay. If it doesn't feel right, you generally feel sick, you get a headache, it's an uneasy feel. Okay? If it's something you just don't want to do, it's more to boredom, you know, or feeling a bit sluggish. Okay? Your intuition is never sluggish. Your intuition is always very spot on, yes or no. And when I say to people, between ego, which is the mind, and the intuition, which is the heart center, the intuition will always come up with a solution. So if you say to yourself, oh, I don't know whether I'm tired or I'm just sluggish or I don't want to do it, your intuition will go have a lie down. Take a break. That's you being tired. That you physically needing to go out in nature, go for a walk, and you'll come back with a clearer mind. Okay? Your ego is, Colin, you're an idiot. What are you doing? It puts you down. Ego tends to put you down. Intuition will come up with a more positive solution. You know, and quite often it's, okay, you're asking for help, you're working on a project, you know, I need this information, you're asking, going deep within, what do I do? And they go, I just go have a cup of tea and go for a walk. You go, well, that's not going to solve my problem. But while you're making a cup of tea, you might go, oh, That's right. I might use the red colour rather than that green colour because it might just look better. So what they're saying is move away from the project for 2 minutes, have a break, that light bulb moment will happen, and then you come back and you continue and everything goes along smoothly.
Yeah, I really like that. Here's a follow-up to that, because that is, you know, sometimes it's sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's foggy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's clear, I go like, okay, this is not working, and I just go outside, I get on my bike, you know, for 30 minutes, and it's all solved, you know. And sometimes I'm like, no, I can't do that right now. You know, I don't have the time. There's so many things I need to do today. There's so many stuff. There's so many new everything, right? So I can't do that. So I just keep doing things, and then I get stressed because not everything I want to do is getting done today, and you know, the things are not working and everything. So how do you sort of like? I guess it's about awareness, but like, how do you deal with that? Like because like when you come to that place where it's like, okay, it's not working. How do you make that decision to say, okay, let me just you know, go for a walk or go on a bike, or you know, let me just keep at it. Like, how do you make that decision? How do you know if it's the right decision? How do you know, you know, these kinds of things?
Well, what you do is you got to stop and ask yourself. That's the first one. Is say take 1 minute and sit there and go, okay, why am I feeling so stressed? Why everything I'm doing isn't working today? And just stop and then go and just ask yourself, what is it? And all of a sudden something will pop into your mind. And this is where I'm very good. When I'm working with people, their intuition becomes higher and better, and they understand it more, and I'm able to explain what you look for. Is you ask yourself, and then your soul or your intuition will always give you an answer, whether it's in picture form, whether it's a word, whether it's a color, whether it's an idea. So it's just understanding that. And also, and then you go, okay, well, if I'm supposed to going for a walk, is that going to help? And all of a sudden you'll get this, yeah, it will. Okay. And if you're not sure, you ask the question again. Okay. And I have this beautiful technique that I have the red or green flag. So I say to myself, so is it a yes or no? And a red flag will pop up, or a green flag will pop up, or an orange one if I'm not sure. And I go, okay, well, I got to be a bit more clear, have more clarity on that, and ask another question. And I like when you talk to yourself, and you do it in your mind. I mean, you can talk it out loud, but you know, if you've got people around you, they might think you're going a bit crazy. So you tend to talk to yourself in your mind, and simple, straight questions. Am I supposed to be doing this? Yes or no? And you'll get a yes or no. Okay. Is this person good for me? Yes or no? If it's no, why are they not good for me? Is it emotional, physical, or spiritual? What's the issue? And then we'll break it down. So simple questions, and you'll get simple, straightforward answers in response.
I like that. I really like that, because it's just like, you know, it's so simple, but it's also just not something we're often doing. And when I say we, I mean I. You know, I think I talked for a lot of people. We're not doing this very often because of that. We're not aware of, you know, that, and we don't have a process in place. So it's like, oh, you know, we make it such a big thing. You know, we have to think about it. But if it's just, you know, if it's that simple, and if I can just go and say, okay, you know, today, for example, I haven't checked my email since last, like, Saturday, Friday. Now it's Thursday next week. And I feel guilty about that. I feel like, you know, I should have done that. But honestly, I hate email. I hate email. I don't want to respond to email. I like sending and creating a new email to somebody that I care about. But I don't like responding to all the stuff that's coming in. So it's like, it's one of those things. Like yesterday, I was like sitting there. I was like, okay, you know, I'm supposed to do this. It's already 6 o'clock in the evening. You know, it's a long day, and I'm not going to do it. You know, I'm going to do it tomorrow. It's you know, it's interesting. I feel if it's really powerful to have such a structure in place, such a process in place, that when, you know, things like that come up, because like yesterday or a couple of days ago, I I think yesterday morning I was on a walk because I just hired a new online marketing manager. And yesterday I was on a walk. Today I had to talk to my assistant and let her go after 3.5 years of working with her because, you know, it's merging and things like that. And I was like, suddenly I got this something, right? That it was like, man, you're supposed to do 3 things: build a relationship, create things, create content, whatever form or shape that is, and lead. And that's it. That's it. Nothing else. That's it. You know, you stop yourself there. And I was like, and that was happening, like I was going on a 45-minute walk and that was happening there. And that kind of like changed the direction of things as well, because, you know, I hired this new person. It's now about delegating things to her. And I just love having such a process, like really clearly saying, okay, I got that. And then also like also questioning it, also saying like, is that true? Is it true that I meant to just do those things? And is it, am I supposed to delegate everything else to this other person now? Like things like that make just the whole process so much easier, because otherwise we're so good as humans to overcomplicate things in this human world here, right? So I really love that process.
Yeah, and it's learning to trust yourself, you know, and that's what I say when I help people have remain calm, have clarity. Check in with yourself and actually trust and feel the response you're getting when you ask a question, and having the courage to go out there and say, well, okay, let's try this. And then you can logically go, okay, if I want to create this, this is a vision I've got. You know, like with my cards, I didn't know how to create cards, but I had a vision. I went, okay, yes, I can do it. This is how I'm going to do it. And then I had to find someone to help actually do the physical cards. And it's like when you're a visionary, and there's lots of visionaries out there, and that's what we are. We see the vision, then we have to work backwards and get the steps backwards, and the people will come in to help. But the hardest thing is when you have that vision is having people go, oh, okay, I don't know, I can't see it, but we have to trust you. And when you can feel it 100%, other people will feel it as well, because you'll help them feel it. It's not telling them what to do. It's saying, okay, this is the colour we're going to have. And you feel good about the colour of the cards, and the person knows, oh, yeah, I really like that colour. And they feel it as well. So it's passing on that experience to others so that they want to be part of whatever you're creating.
I love that. I love that, working from the vision backwards, and not telling people what to do, but assembling them, or gathering them, you know, underneath that vision, and saying that's where we're going, and actually empowering people to say, what idea do you have? You know, yes. What else do you think we could do here? Instead of, because it's so easy to try to micromanage, control and everything, and just say, here's the thing, and just keep doing that and everything. And just that's one big thing I learned when it comes to managing people, you know, in my corporate career, but now in my business as well, is like, when you treat people like dummies, they are dummies. When you treat people like leaders, they become leaders. And that is just huge. So yeah, that's a really good insight.
Yeah. So, and it is, when you allow people to use their own feelings, emotions, thoughts, and they're completely different people. You know, you keep telling them what to do, they're not going to add their spark, because everyone's got their uniqueness. Everyone thinks differently, you know. There's people that think inside the box, people think outside the box. You put the two together and they work well together, you can create anything. So
here's another one. How do you trust yourself? We talked about, you know, we talked about this just briefly, but like, you know, this is huge, right? This is massive, especially in a leadership position. If you don't trust yourself, then don't even try to, you know, trust others, because if you don't trust yourself, if that foundation isn't there, but it's also not just as a whole trusting yourself, but it's also in different situations, like, okay, with having that big vision and things like that, and trusting yourself there, but also like, okay, organizing things and saying, okay, here's what I'm doing, here's what you're doing, and, you know, all the projects you're taking on, all these things happening. How do you trust yourself?
Well, I suppose it comes from experience as well, life skills. You know, you may have X amount of time at university or doing courses, but, you know, whether you're 50 or 25, they're 25 years of experience. And you take all your experiences into that trust level, you know, from home, from school, from relationships, good relationships, bad relationships. And with myself, especially with what I do, is I've learnt the hard way, and I've looked back and go, okay, well, that's obviously not the right thing to do. You know, so you streamline it, you get better at it. And I trust everything that I say, or the guidance I give, I 100% trust it, you know, and I'll give guidance to people, and then I'll see them a month later or 2 months later, and they go, oh, Liz, what you said has actually come true. And I said, well, that's, it should, because I've said it will. And I just trust it. That's through it's just experience, life experience. And if you don't trust yourself, no one else is going to trust you, ultimately. And you got to back yourself. You know, you put something out there and go, okay, I believe this will work. I believe this is a great idea. Put it out there. All the bits and all the pieces will come to create that puzzle. And if it falls short, you go, well, okay, why did it fall short? And then you also get the experts around. You know, I've got my people around me that help create. You know, you always need a logical accountant. You always need a the logical people that tick all the boxes. If I can miss a few steps, I will. But, you know, in some professions, you have to tick all the boxes. So therefore, you need people that are happy to do that. Okay, creative people tend to try and miss a few. That's what I've, through my experience, tend to miss a few steps, but that's how we work. So with trust is you trust yourself, you'll always have trustworthy people coming forward. Okay, and being able to trust yourself is that, again, it's asking yourself the hard questions. Am I doing this for the right reasons, or am I just doing it because of ego, or am I just doing it to rip someone off? And actually be honest with yourself and go, well, yeah, I could make a quick buck here, but really, is it worth it? Because it's going to hurt these people over here. Or if I wait another 6 months, you know, the rewards will be greater. May not be financial, but the rewards will come for tenfold as time goes on, because you're helping so many people. So you really have to look within. And I think looking within is one of the hardest things anyone does, because we all have skeletons. We all have things that we don't want to look at and we push down. But once you're able to look at it and appreciate it and go, and again, this is where I can come in with the energy side, is you can have an experience from childhood, okay, that you can look back and it has a physical effect on you. It has an emotional effect on you. What I'm able to do is cut that cord and go, okay, the experience happened. You're not going to change it. You can't change your past. What we can change is the emotional and spiritual effect it has on you today. Let's look back and go, okay, that broken relationship, yeah, it was horrible, but you're out of that. You've become stronger. You make better decisions. You're on a better path. You know, maybe you even dress better than you used to in that old relationship. Who knows? But there's always a positive in every situation. And I look back now with what I do and also the cards I've created. If I didn't go through that heart surgery and that whole situation, these cards wouldn't have happened. So part of it was the heaven saying, Liz, you have to experience this to create this product to help inspire others. Okay, and that's ultimately what it is. But, you know, it was a whole 18 months journey to get to that, to look back and go, okay, this is the right thing to do. You know, so it's hard. When you're going through it, it's very hard, but there's always a bright side. And I say to people, even when you go to sleep and you close your eyes, it's never completely dark. There's always one little bit of light. And so what you do is you focus on that light, and over time, the more you focus on the light gets bigger and bigger and the darkness disappears.
I like that. And, you know, you just mentioned something, doing the right thing. You know, sometimes you come to a fork in the road and one way goes doing the right thing, and the other one is doing what's right. In terms of what I mean, it's like, it's sort of like things you're supposed to be doing, you should be doing, you're taught to be, you're taught that this is the right way, and then things that you just know that this is the right thing. It can be as simple as, talking to a friend, and, they have something, and you just want to jump in and just like, grab them by the head and say, what the hell are you doing? But you don't do that because, it's not a nice way of doing it. You think maybe what's going to happen to the friendship, sort of like that, or something, something like, something else where it's just coming to that fork in the road. Like, how do you, once again, coming back to, I guess, making that decision, how do you make that decision to, taking the friend example, there's lots of examples in business as well, but the friend example, between saying, just listening and saying nothing, to just saying, look, I think you're wrong with this, and risking, things like that. How do you go about that?
I have to say I've learned the hard way on that one, is when, you feel like they need to know the situation. So you tell them, but they're not ready to hear it, and sometimes your best intentions to help someone is they're not ready. They're not in their right headspace. And so what I tend to do now is I check, is the information I feel I need to pass on, is it relevant? Is it going to help? Yes or no? And if it's yes, I tell them, and I trust in that. And if it's no, I go, well, okay, I need to hold off and not say anything. And sometimes people have to go through a process, and they have to fall down, and then they can get back up. You can't, we all go through things for a reason. And no, I could get a whole truckload of fairy dust and throw it on a person, and if it's not meant to help, it's not going to help. Okay, their lesson is to walk that journey, no matter how hard it is, to learn certain things about themselves and people around them, and then a situation will change and they'll flip over and go, okay, I'm ready to change and improve myself, or just be a nicer person, or change your environment. They'll come to that awareness themselves. And what I tend to tell people, or suggest that people do, is if you want to help someone and you can't, you ask the universe or the heavens to bring forward the support for that person. Okay, so you may not be the person that can help. Maybe it's their next door neighbour, maybe it's someone at school, maybe it's someone from their football team. Okay, so, and quite often with parents, we have that role where, my 10-year-old quite often tells me I can't read his mind. And I say, well, it's not that I need to read your mind. I can actually, you just look at the evidence sitting around you, what you've done. And, but I can ask someone else to have a chat to him, and he'll listen to them. So what I tend to do is ask for people to come forward to help others. And it always happens. And whether you know it or not, as long as you ask for the right people to come forward, is it up to you to know what's going on in someone else's life? You don't have to. As long as you sense and go, well, okay, I'm sure something positive will happen to that person.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of like where ego is coming in again. It's like, trying to know about what's happening, and just for ego, but it's not relevant. So that's really interesting, because I feel like, okay, it's really good. Like, everything comes down to that really simple thing, which is asking questions. Like, you just go, if you're in a position situation, you need to make a difficult decision, like, we have to do on a daily basis very often. It comes down to not getting stuck in your head and getting stuck in ego, but just asking the right question, asking yourself the right question, asking the universe the right question. And I also really like the one, you brought forward with saying, if you, sometimes you may not be the right person to support them, and then you can ask for guidance or ask for support for them. I really like that. It's really powerful. This is great. This is some really, really, really powerful stuff, because, with any leader, in any leadership role, I mean, one of the key responsibilities, making decisions. And the higher up you go in the food chain, the more difficult these decisions become, right? And if you have that guidance, it's just so powerful, because it's so easy to make that rational decision that it's just like the most logical thing in the moment, but you already know it's not the right thing, but just make it because everybody else will support it anyway. That's the easiest thing to do, but that's not what leaders do. That's what managers do. What leaders do is they make they make decisions that they know are the right ones.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And I think it's such a powerful concept that you just shared today. So let's just end this with the connection point. Where can people find you, and how can people connect with you?
Okay, well, I've got a website. It's lizmulheron.com. So you can connect there. There's information about what I do. There's also my empowerment cards are there. And there's a little button down the bottom that if you want to schedule a time to chat to me, I offer, there's 15-minute time slots. So if you want to have a chat, I'm happy to have a talk to anyone who wants to have a chat and see if I can help with some guidance. Because within that 15 minutes, you know whether I'm a fit for you, your organisation, or you just personally. And there's different, scales of an hour, face-to-face or by Skype. So, and it's got information, and that's where my contact details are there if anyone wants to email me. But
excellent. Okay, this is great. So I'm going to link below the video. And just one more thing I want to share, because the reason I'm doing having these conversations is I want to create connection and collaboration. And with the empowerment cards that you created, people are going to find out a lot more on the website. Yes, but most importantly, because this is about support, and collaboration for me is about support. So there's some really powerful ways to get the cards out there. The world needs to see them. And if people are leaders of communities, for example, that this is ready for them, or have connections in organizations, associations, communities, whatever that may be, to influencers, where this could really be a good a good collaboration for them, then I highly suggest to connect with Liz, because there's just, if you check it out on the website, the empowerment cards, they're really powerful. I just love the gift. It's amazing. And I think that's just something that will be the most powerful, to make a connection on. So yeah, I'm gonna link to everything below in the comments. So thank you so much for doing that, Liz, with me. I really appreciate you sharing your story and your insights, your vision for the future, and your superpower with us as well. So thank you so much for doing that and being here with me.
I very much appreciate the time. And so if anyone needs a little bit of guidance or wants some help, or knows that, senses or feels that I can help. And again, you just sit with me and you look at my website and you go, can Liz help our organisation some way? Can she help me some way? And you'll find the answer within yourself. So just trust that. And I really know when you meet people, you know straight away. And if I'm not the person for you, go, okay, I've watched this video for a reason. So there's someone else out there that can help me, and ask the universe to bring that person forward, and someone will.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Liz. Have a wonderful day.
You too. And thank you very much.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye.